Welcome to the Reinvented Life with Pamela Chanel David. Do you want to step up your game? Pursue your dreams. Be the best version of yourself.
Well, good morning, everyone. It is bright and early here in California. Welcome to the Reinvented Life. Welcome to living your best life and the show that can help you to empower yourself. My name is Pamela Chanel David. I'm author of the Reinvented Life book. I'm thrilled to host this show every week because what we do here at the Reinvented Life is not only talk about what is possible, but how to get there. And today's show in particularly, I'm excited about because it's a part of the book and a part of the movement at the Reinvented Life to become your strongest self in every aspect of our lives. And if we can do anything here, it's bring you the how-tos, bring you the tips, bring you the resources of how to get there. Because when we can show up for ourselves, the strongest physically, mentally, emotionally, even spiritually, then we can really achieve things that we didn't even ourselves see possible. And when we do that, we're a greater and a stronger link into our community. So much today is about what we're giving back, how we are creating social justice within our own communities and within our own circles. But at the Reinvented Life, what we've realized is that social justice starts with ourselves, starts with how are we strengthening ourselves and treating ourselves the most mindfully and gracefully as we can. So as you're going to see in this clip, social justice begins with personal justice. Social justice begins with personal justice. My name is Pamela Chanel David. I am author of the Reinvented Life book and bringing to you over the next couple of weeks what the Reinvented Life is all about, what your Reinvented Life is all about. When you are most just to yourself, when you are the strongest physically, mentally, and emotionally, you can show up for yourself and for others in the most powerful way possible. Social justice is a linking together of individuals that want to make an impact, that want to embrace change, that want to be a contribution for a brighter future. So at the Reinvented Life, we're going to spend the next couple of weeks bringing you tips, bringing you hope, bringing you tools that will help you reinvent your life and have the most personal justice possible. Because social justice begins with personal justice. And with that, and the concept of linking together with others, I am very excited to continue.
Social and personal justice. Meaning what? Can you simplify it for our viewers and your viewers to understand, to kind of wrap their head around what it is?
I took this excerpt from the book and I said, creating a more mindful world is at the center of reinvention. At the center of reinvention is the need to start with the decision to treat yourself in a new way. Personal justice is at the core of social justice. Personal justice is really nothing more than a reflection of how you are justly treating yourself. When you're treating yourself in a new way, whatever your ambition is, It is going to reflect. Personal justice is about strengthening ourselves, doing for ourselves, being a contribution for all of those things that we want to get out there and do for others. It's putting ourselves on the front of that train. It's putting ourselves in the road, so to speak, or the path, so to speak, at the front. And then we can do for others and be strong.
It's almost like that old airplane analogy. You have to put the oxygen mask on yourself before you can put it on others. You have to want the change for yourself. You have to really believe in you before you can actually extend and help others. Because without you feeling your best and your strongest, then you can't really make that extension to bring it socially out to the world.
Absolutely. I know for myself, and I know for so many people I've talked to, and things I watch and things I hear about, we deplete ourselves. We actually deplete and feel like we can be strongest. I know for myself, I had that very mixed up. I actually thought paying attention to myself was not doing the right thing. I had heard things like don't be conceited and stay humble and all of these things. All our lives, we've heard these little nuances, but they stick. And then paying attention to ourselves and making ourselves the strongest feels wrong, when in fact, it is the very best thing we can do.
It's interesting. We talk about that a lot. And you've done that. You're on a new health journey and working forward and doing all those things. But you'll always say to me, don't give away your shine. Why do you put others before yourself? And maybe it's this guilt, female girl thing that we were taught to. You always be the nurturer, the mom, the sister, the daughter, the giver. And that always came first. But now it's a change in culture. It's a change of thought. I don't know if men ever thought that way.
Well, you know, it's ironic because sometimes being better, playing bigger, you end up being more humble and you shrink because you don't want to be a leader. You don't want to be up front. You don't want to be the one to carry the ball. You'd rather be a worker and part of the equation than to lead that equation. And what begins to happen is that bad habits are easier to do than good habits. It's easier to sit back and let other things take the place, let other people make decisions. Among the Latino community, men are taught to be machismo, is taught that you're going to go forward and stake and claim and ponder and you're going to destroy everything around you just to prove a point. So that's the other side of this thing. I think that balance is the hardest thing to do as a leader. And you don't have to stand up there and say, you know, I am a leader and pounce on your chest. That doesn't work either because to have people follow you, you have to make it so that they believe what you believe. You know, you have to really believe this to capture this, to work with it. And a lot of people rather do bad habits than good habits because bad habits are hope. So sometimes it takes life a long time to learn what you did to reinvent yourself. That's why I love the word reinvent the life because it's never too late to start, man or woman.
You know, Freddie, you hit on the exact best point, which is so much of what our life is and has become has been from a habit. And a habit, as you mentioned, is not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, habits carry us through such a disproportionate part of our day. We don't even think about our habits. From the moment we get up to the moment we go to bed, there are so many parts of our day that are on autopilot. And personal justice is all about disrupting that. Personal justice is our good habits are good, they're fine. But what are we doing with the rest of our day? How are we disrupting our regular routines that we commonly do and ponder and think about and ask ourselves questions and take inventory of, if you will, is this the best use of my time? Am what I'm doing leading me towards a goal I want to get to, or am I just going through my days like I always have? That is where the concept of personal justice comes in. It is, again, being most just to ourselves. So, what are we creating? And Freddie, when you talk about that, you love the idea of a reinvented life. It is a life about being decisive. It is a life about making that decision to create something from what you're doing. And this is why I am so proud and feel so honored to partner with both of you, because you believe in creating everything from your studio to your hosts of your shows, to your constituents, to your community, to the linking of who your broadcasts are creating and that are created. So much about giving back and being socially just, taking care of causes, being a contribution to causes, starts with the decision of doing that for oneself first. And that's what this show and that's what this series of shows is all about, is showing people examples of what we can
change as we go through life, right? Because then there's the business and there's the social justice on me serving the greater good, right? Being on your show, reaching to the community, being here for the crew, doing what you and I do, until I then have to go into the personal role of daughter again and be there. It changes. Can you talk a little bit about change and as our roles change?
It's the most natural state we can be in is change. And I always equate it to an infant becomes a toddler and grows into a child, grows into a preteen, grows into a teen, grows into an adult. In other words, changes are absolutely the most natural place we can be. But somewhere along the line, whether it's as we mature, as we gain wisdom, any word you want to think of it, somewhere along that line, we realize that instead of embracing that change, which is what the reinvented life is all about, is going back to embracing our natural selves, we get scared of it. So somewhere along the line in adulthood, change becomes scary. Things that are different don't seem as appealing, aren't as comfortable, aren't as familiar. But the truth is exactly what you're saying, and what you know that the Reinvented Life stands for is we cannot be the same version of ourselves at every stage. What has served us, what we have done, what we have accomplished in whatever aspects of our life is fabulous. But looking at it as a stepping stone, looking at it as a step towards the next phase is what is key. So, what is important to us when we are teenagers grows. What is important to us in our early careers grow. What is important to us in our communities and how we contribute towards that grows. If you're a parent, as an example, what was once very important as an example to contribute and be there to support your children's schools or their teams is at one point very relevant. Now, how are we being relevant? Now, how are we taking, if we were coaching teams or working in classrooms or doing programs with our kids, if you are a parent, how is that relevant today in our lives? What are we doing to look at how do we become this contribution? And so the contribution, Dawn, of what you're talking about absolutely changes with parents, with our now adult children, making those decisions as you just described on a very personal note, which, by the way, extending, my thoughts of comforts and
Thank
prayers
you.
for your dad as well. Absolutely. This is what becomes important. We tend to, over time, dismiss. It's a natural thing that takes place of how greatly we can impact things. We just got used to volunteering. We got used to coaching. We got used to teaching. We got used to being out there in our kids' activities. And suddenly, as we mature, we forget the impact that we can still continue to make. So, this inner circle you're referring to, Dawn, is essential because that's where the social justice part of it starts. If it's late at night, you're responding to medical emergencies, or it's early in the morning and you have to go do something, you look at it as, I get to do that, right? When we get as healthy as we can, we are elated to be able to do that. And so, what's beautiful about this maturing process and this acceptance of change is that we can now be more appreciative and more grateful that we are able to, that we're able bodied physically, spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. And I say that over and over. What you talked about with your father is a perfect example.
It's amazing because the challenges are going to make you make decisions. Making adjustments is the fear factor. Because a lot of people, when they make adjustments, sometimes they're afraid that this adjustment is going to require them to do something they're not comfortable with, something that you have to do out of the box, something that you don't want to do. But challenges in life, life is all about a challenge. And how do you make adjustments to make that challenge work for you? Because, you could be on top of your game one day and 30 seconds later, you're not. And here comes the challenges. And you can't be afraid to succeed. You can't be afraid to try things that are new. You can't be afraid to say, I'd rather stay small and humble. All of these words work when you get comfortable and you don't like to make adjustments that require you to change. Because change is a real big deal in our life. Now, you have your dad on one end. I got my son that just had his baby girl.
Right.
And Gio's a big part of my life and what I do professionally and what I do at the family, spiritually, and everything else. And there's another challenge. The challenge of not doing or saying anything, of sitting on that fence, of being a dad when he needs me, I'm there, but not being a dad to tell him what to do. And the challenge is all around us, because then I have my other son that I have to say to him, now it's your turn to do what I'm doing, because we have to be there without, everybody has a way of doing things. And their way may be the right way for them, which is fine. But we have to make adjustments to let other people grow and learn. And I think that the biggest challenge in the world is using the two things that God gave us, which are ears, a big heart, and just learning from everything that goes on around you without judging it.
But do you think, Chanel and Freddie, that who you are as Chanel and Freddie and the reinvention of your life and coming forward through a new health journey and truly believing in you gives others the opportunity to say, you know what, I can do this too. I'm strong enough, and they've empowered me enough to say I can start. Doesn't mean you're going to be at 100, right? But at least enough to say I can make that start. I can choose me first. And then we go, I know sometimes with you it's hour by hour. It's not even day by day. It's, when do I eat breakfast? What am I going to have for lunch? It might be meal to meal. Forget day to day. Do you ever look at what you've both accomplished and say, I know I'm making a change socially because I believe in me?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes. Agreed. That's a good word. Absolutely. We said it at the same time.
But what a gift that
Always.
is to know that the changes you both have chosen for yourselves, for whatever reasons, you've made a huge positive social impact on the community of the people that watch our show and your show. And they're going to be going to the new studio in California as part of what we do here in Florida. It's not just one. I read today, if you want to make a ripple effect, if you want to throw that pebble in, you just got to do something big.
You know, it's funny. I don't look at it that way.
You didn't when you started, I know, but it's
I
turned
still
into that.
no, but I still don't look at it that I got a mission that I want to accomplish. There is something that I want to do for me and for the kids that are in the studio, for you. And there's a mission that I'm not going to judge it. I'm going to let whatever I do judge itself. And people can say things. I mean, I went to a restaurant. They knew the Roberts, and they knew about the show, and I had the hat on. And okay, I says, I'm going to go have dinner now. But wait a minute, we want to talk to you. Okay, so we talked for 15 minutes. Okay, I'm going to go to dinner now. It isn't, the funny thing is that it's not about what other people see in my world. It might be in others. For me is, how do I make what I did yesterday better? That's what I live by. I don't want to sit back and take the applause. I mean, do I love applause? Probably, but it isn't my number one thing. I want to see people do better, be better, and believe that they can, like you're doing. That's what I believe in.
Dawn and Freddie, to that point, it's all about the energy. And what I put here in the book, the very next thought, is the energy that's created by reinventing yourself and your life is going to have a positive and have positive implications on the world around you. Whether that be in the inner world of your immediate family, as we were just talking about, or in the greater world of the community at large in which you live. People will naturally become more just, act with more attention to the environment, and be more mindful of themselves and others when the thought of other people's actions around them is inspiring. Social justice, be it the health of a community, an organization, or any group of people coming together, is going to improve and get stronger when an individual person decides to become healthy in their mind, in their body, and in their spirit. So, creating that more mindful world not only then becomes a cleaner platform and a cleaner state from which people operate, but it allows for a natural transference of energy from that of discourse and dis-ease to one that is a natural course to build together and to do it with ease. So that is the key. And I'm glad that you put up there on the screen info@thereinventedlife.com is my email. I respond to it to dozens of people all day long. Please ask your questions there. Please send thoughts you have on this subject. And please, most importantly, let us know what we can do to help. Because the energy, and I know that's such a focus there in your studios, is what is most important. And that is what is being created. And so instead of change being a fearful thing and one that's of discourse and one that's hard and all of that, it's wow, like everything I have done has led me to be able to be strong enough to create and be that change that we want to. And that energy that you create there is broadcast all over the country, all over the world. I feel it on the West Coast and you're on the East Coast.
being a part of your show always, and I love taking it cross-coastal. And we are both so excited about maybe heading out to San Francisco over the summer to help set this new studio up, which will be amazing. And I can't believe it's been 30 minutes and you get to wrap up this show. But luckily for us, you go again on Friday. So
I will be back on Friday. It's fun being here on a Tuesday morning. I just glanced at the time. 30 minutes is up. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Always for your input, for your energy, just for your positive contribution. And thank you to our viewers and to our listeners, always for being willing to take a look at where you are, and is it leading you in the direction that you want to go. Have a beautiful few days. I'll be back on Friday. And think about what you can do to become the strongest and healthiest versions of yourself.
Thank you for tuning in to The Reinvented Life with Pamela Chanel David. Tune in each week so we can work and grow together to become the best version of ourselves. Keep striving, keep dreaming, keep working, and embrace change. You may contact Pamela Chanel at info@thereinventedlife.com.